Hey, 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 hey. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Or whenever you're listening to this, hello. This is Rosemary, Nonny, RNK for short, the Prosperity Minister. I equip people to prosper in their relationships, their health, their wealth, their whatever. Okay, now this is the thing. I got to thinking this morning as I was in my quiet time, faffing around with my hair, just thinking about life and the choices that we sometimes make as people. And how, okay, giving an example, a small little example here. I am that person who gets a MacBook, so a computer. I don't, or a gadget of any sort. I don't want to have to refine myself to work with this gadget. I want this gadget to do what I want it to do. My husband is always trying to tell me, because I'm one of those people that keeps 20 million tabs open all at the same time. Okay. And he's like, well, the computer cannot take that much. And I'm like, no, no, no. I want a computer that will work with me as I am, not me trying to have to refine myself so that I can work with a computer type thing. And what I'm saying here is this. For the most part, most people tend to think that they have to make reasonable choices, reasonable decisions about how they do things or don't do things. Oh, I'm hoping you guys, I'm just going to share this, but you make these decisions based on what you think is reasonable. I've never been that person. I try from time to time to be that person, and it doesn't ever seem to work. Truth be told, okay, at least not for me, because I'm not reasonable. I used to think that was a bad thing. But I realized that the reason that I get the things that I desire out of my life is because I'm not reasonable. I frankly refuse completely to be reasonable. What I am, however, is willing. I am willing to go and get that MacBook that will do what I want it to do, rather than me having to limit myself in order to work with a MacBook. Do you see what I'm saying? I am willing to go to work harder than anybody else on the planet, if necessary, to design the life that I desire for myself and for my family. I refuse to be reasonable about it. And I see lots of people walking around trying to be reasonable. Oh, well, you can't expect things to work out that well for you. You can't expect this to be that good, or you can't expect. Why not? Why can you not expect whatever you desire for your life? Now, I say this with the caveat that yes, you do have to be willing. You do have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get the life that you desire. And sometimes that is what it comes down to, that unwillingness of people to actually fight for the life that they want. And usually the fight is mostly with yourself, my honey. It really is. I was reading in the Bible this morning about sometimes the Bible kind of puts things in ways that I don't necessarily agree with, but I know that there's a deeper meaning to things. And yeah, I know for some of you that will be a bit shocking that I said such a thing. But but the truth of the matter is I see beneath what is just written to the deeper meaning. Where people, well, anyway, in some ways, it doesn't really matter where I read this, but I was just thinking about how it's easier for most people to blame God or the divine or the universe or whatever your particular belief system is for the events of your life, to say, well, it's just fate. It's just karma. It's just the way it is, it's just the way it is. I just have to put up with it that way. But you forget how powerful you are. You forget how powerful you are. You are the one that is choosing all of this. The moment you decide to ask for help, to actually go after what you think is unreasonable, and you stop thinking of it as unreasonable, you start thinking of it as, actually, this is what I want for my life. And so when you start asking for help to actually make that happen and be willing to take those intuitive steps towards the thing you actually want rather than settle for the thing you don't, life changes. Life opens up. Life becomes fun because you realize that you are capable of a heck of a lot more than you gave yourself credit for in the first place. So you know what? This whole being reasonable thing, just quit it. Let others be reasonable if they choose to be. One thing about being a spiritual person is that sometimes you think, oh, well, how dare I think that I can have whatever I want because it's just selfish of me, or it's, in some way it takes away from somebody else. No, it doesn't. How does it help anybody else on the planet if you are living in lack and living in reasonableness, when actually you have big ideas and big dreams of the things and the people you would like to impact and influence and support and help, but you can't because you're being reasonable. You're being reasonable when you know as a spiritual person that you're connected to the source of all that is. And instead of taking the time to figure out how to really live out of that connection, you are telling yourself to be reasonable. You're telling yourself to be reasonable. We're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. The world's system, the world's way of looking at life is to, play it small, play it down, be reasonable about what you demand of life, be reasonable about your limitations, be reasonable about everything. And so then you just die to yourself all the time. And it sounds so holy and good to do, but actually you're just living to the world system. What if you just gave up this whole reasonable thing? Let others be reasonable if they want to be. But the truth of the matter is that people who change this world, people who actually make a difference on this planet, are not reasonable people. They have a vision that goes beyond reason to something bigger than that. And they just, keep leaning into it. Regardless of how afraid they may feel, they're willing to keep leaning in to whatever they need to in order to see the dreams in their heart actually come to pass. They stop buying into stories of, oh, well, there's a limit to what you can do and there's a limit to what you can have and it's greedy to want more and all of that nonsense. They stop buying into that. And you know what? I'm definitely done with that, although every so often I become a little bit too human. And I have to remind myself that no, I'm not here to live a reasonable life. I am willing to create an extraordinary life, to experience all there is to experience, to stop trying to tell myself that I'm wrong for wanting what I want, to allow myself to want whatever I want and be willing to go after it. Be willing to keep leaning into it. Be willing to learn how to tap into the limitless power within me. Be willing to be that divine being having a human experience instead of a human being just being human all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love my humanity, but I know it's not all that I am. And I know it's not all that you are. So I say to you again, stop being so reasonable. Be willing instead to go after everything that you desire. Be willing to create a life that is an inspiration to those around you to also quit reasonableness and actually step into their full power. Because if you can do it, then why the heck not them? Be that beacon of love and light as you step out, step beyond what you think or what others have told you is possible for you. You can go beyond. You are connected to the source of all that is. You are not alone in this. You can rise up, liberate yourself. Right now I'm talking about the liberation program. And yes, I would love you to go and have a look at that and liberate yourself from your old ideas of what is possible for you. I'm going to put that in here right now, rosemarynonnyknight.com/liberation. Go and liberate yourself, enable yourself to live from a really powerful place, that you stop buying into the nonsense of the world around you. I don't tell you that it's always the transition to living that limitless life is always easy. No, it's not, because you will be dragged back by people around you. People will think you're crazy. You will think you're crazy from time to time. But you know what? It's so worth it, though. It's so worth it to get to a point where you're living completely without limits, where you know in the heart of you that you're capable of anything you set your mind to. Why would you settle for less? Why would you settle for less? We are powerful creatures. So liberate yourself from the old way of thinking and become that divine being again. connected to all that is, knowing that you can live, hell man, a powerful existence. And if you're not ready, quite ready for liberation, then I have something free for you. And it is my Spirit Speaks book, okay? I put it together for this community. And it's 15 divine messages which enable you to find and fulfill your life's purpose. Guys, because you know that you're here for something amazing. So start to discover it. Go get the free. I'm giving it away at the moment, so it's completely free at the moment. Go and get it. But for you guys who are inspired by what I'm saying right here, then step into liberation. Step into liberation. It's time. It's time for you to liberate yourself from the old ways of thinking and to give up reasonableness or reasonability or whatever you call it, and instead be willing to create something amazing. Much, much, much amazing love. I exhort you to share this with somebody else, okay? Share this with somebody else. Much amazing love.